Right, time for a little update on the Jeep. I went ahead and pulled the transmission out and pulled the bell housing off. Figured it'd be a good time to take a peek in there. I haven't even looked in there really. See, everything spins fine. In neutral anyway. But I'll take a look in here and see if I feel like I need to rebuild it. If anything, I'm going to reseal the front. I'm going to try a different thread sealer because I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. I used the ARP Teflon. It looks like plumber's paste. So I'm probably going to try like an anaerobic thin sealant. And I picked up another Iron Duke. And that was the one that the crank was worn down, had spun a bearing, the rod's oversized, and the piston had been smacking the head. This one, I feel like it's a much better core for freshen up. There is some rust in number 4, which is a bummer, but the valve is holding WD-40. The valve's holding WD-40. I haven't tried the rest of them yet. I need to level this a little better. That's just coolant that spilled out. Not sure what year motor this is, but it is a roller cam and an electronic distributor, so I'm gonna have to probably run it just locked out initially at, I guess, maybe I'll try it at 15 degrees, but you can see the dog bones on the lifters. So that indicates this is a roller cam. I guess I can take that out of here. Next up, I suppose I need to spin this over and drop the oil pan and check out the rod bearings. I did cut the filter open and there was some sludge, like a pile of sludge. There it is. It was a Fram. I didn't see a whole lot of metal peeking into this little filter. There was sort of a little bit of glitter in what dumped out of here, but look at that collection of sludge down in the bottom. So yeah, it's gonna get freshened up. So next thing I'm gonna do is pop that oil pan off, pull the rod caps off, and then I'm going out of town for a week. So I'm not gonna buy anything. I do need to measure the bores. Well, I'll figure it out when I get the pistons out, but I'll measure the bores and make sure that they're standard. So I can buy a ring set. I'm gonna go with Molly rings, and then I'll check out the bearings and measure the journals there to see if that's standard. It did look like this had been resealed. It had no thermostat, and that had been resealed. I can't tell if this is a replacement head gasket or not. Look at that. So I'm gonna keep going on it, and it looks like I should be able to just get away with a real easy refresh on this. I gotta clean all the gunk off though. I mean, look at all the stuff I did scrape off. So I'll keep scraping it, and then next week I'll probably strip everything out of it, and if I can lift it up easily enough myself, I'll probably take it up to the car wash and hose it down there, and then come home after all of the big loose crap is off. I'll put it back up on the stand here and then do a mineral spirits out of a air pressure wand and hose that down, and then start honing and start ordering parts. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. I need to order the adapter, and I'll obviously document what I have to go through to make this thing work. I'm probably going to use the S10 coil and I have no idea what I'm doing for an intake yet because I want to continue to use the Weber carburetor because I don't want to have a computer. So I'll bring y'all along and let you know what I figure out. All of the valves are sealing up really well. Nothing coming out the exhaust. With the intake still being on there, you know, I can't really see if anything's leaking out there, but what I'll do is I'll just let this sit like this, and then whenever it sinks low enough for the valves to be exposed, shine a light in there and see if it's leaking out the exhaust, and then you can tell which it's leaking from. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. The gasket kind of looks like it was sharing combustion. But not bad enough to blow it through, so who knows, maybe that's just the way an old engine looks. Alright, I am stripping this thing down further, and everything's looking pretty good. The bearings have regular wear, they're factory bearings. That's just oil you see on there. The top shows a little bit of wear, but not bad at all, especially for the miles this thing had. Very little contaminant embedded in the bearings. The skirts all look pretty good. The rings are free except for on number 4. Top and second ring are just stuck. Which I suspected because there was very little compression coming out of there. I haven't checked piston to wall. Yeah, see, this one's got a little bit of a scuff, but you can barely even see it's not even snagging. All of the pistons came out really easy except for number 1. The rings were getting hung up on this ridge. So I measured the ridge. It's about 5/1000ths between the top and there. And then when you go down to here, it goes back to 0. So we've got a 5/1000ths ridge, and it's also a taper. So I'll stone hone it to knock some of that down. We're going to end up with a considerable amount of piston to wall clearance, but that's okay. This thing's not going to get revved very high. And you can feel the ridge on all of them. This one's the worst. You can kind of even see it in the reflection. Can you? Yeah, you can kind of see it. So what you're looking at there is, it's kind of a dent all the way around. So, and this is the worst one. So I'm not going to be able to hone that completely out. What I'll do though is I'll check the piston to wall clearance here in a bit. I don't have a very good way of measuring the outer diameter. I'll just have to put calipers kind of up on it here. And then I'll check it cylinder by cylinder. Well, or maybe I'll just compare all the pistons together to see if any shrank. But yeah, I'll measure piston to wall clearance, and then if it's tight, then maybe I will work pretty hard at getting that ridge completely out, because 5/1000ths piston to wall should be fine. Anything more than that, actually 6/1000ths would be fine on a 4-inch bore. But anything more than that, and you're starting to get sloppy. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Bores standard. I don't want to order rings yet until I actually put a hone on this and see how it turns out. Because if I have to take it to a machine shop and get it bored, then that's what I've got to do. I could also pop the head off of this and measure those cylinders to see if the ridge is any better on that block, if I really wanted to. The bearings on this look like it's an 88. That also appears to be an 88. What a coincidence. So that's what I'm doing. One step forward. All right. It's been a week for me. But I didn't publish the other video because nobody cares anyhow. Anyway, I'm back with a little more energy. I've got this thing set up pretty well, so whenever I dive it down in there, you can see I'm measuring pretty much zero. We're at about 1/2 of a thousandth from zero. Is that focusing? About 1/2 of a thousandth from zero. Then when I take it up to the top to measure that dent, look at that. Huge. And it's really weird the way that it's measuring there. That's not actually measuring the true bore at that point in time, because that ring ridge is so narrow that it's measuring the crown leading into the ring ridge. And it's so sharp that it's measuring a tighter bore at an angle than what it actually is. So 25 thousandths deep ring ridge. I wasn't expecting that. And cylinder one's the worst one. So I popped the head back off of this and measured it. This is the $50 engine that had a razor blade that had spun the front bearing, and the cam is undersized, and there was just metal everywhere. But surprisingly, the bores here have about at most a 5 thousandths ring ridge. I guess I could try to show you with the tool rather than telling you. There we go. So we just go down there, and you can see that again, the bore is about the same between the two, exactly the same, which is what you want because they're both stock untouched engines. Come up to the ridge. And it's doing that because it's crooked. So right there is what we're looking at for a ridge, is about right about 6 or 7 thousandths. And they're all pretty much the same. This one's actually tighter, 4 thousandths. And that one's got rust in it. Cylinder number 4's got rust in it, so I can't really get a very good measurement. It just reads 0 all the way up and down. Yeah, and that one's 3. So as far as ring ridge goes, this is a much better block. Unfortunately, it looks like they ran straight water in it. So I'm going to have to deal with that. The cam bearings don't look all that great, but the cam bearings don't really look all that great in this one either. So I'll probably take an X-Acto and see if I can smooth those out, or decide if I want to do a new set of cam bearings. I'd rather not. Cam bearings are kind of pointless like that. So I'll just see if I can kind of smooth out the scars. And then strip this down and start degreasing it, and then take this one and get it out of the way. What I'll probably do is put that junk crank in this junk block with the head, which is right there. It won't focus on it. That's the F-head engine. There we go. That's the F-head engine, and then that's the head that came on the $50 block that had all the metal go through it. So I'll probably take that $50 engine head and set it on here just to kind of compile all of the garbage together. And then I'll get it out of the way and eventually, I guess, take it to scrap. So that's what I got to do. I got to figure out how to scoot this guy out here and strip it down. I can get the distributor off from where it's at, but the oil pan and all of that, it's going to have to get back up on the stand, or just crank it up with the hoist. But I mean, I've got a pile of mess back there, a transmission transfer case right here. I can get the hoist through here, and then I've got that pile of stuff. So I need to get this kind of at least over here. But that's not very interesting and not really the point of the video. Just wanted to share what I found on the block, and that's the type of stuff that you look for whenever you're trying to do a cheap refresh on an engine. You know, essentially this was wasted money. Like I said, I took a gamble on it. It was wasted money, but now it's actually paid for itself. $50 for a usable block is not a bad deal. It's not dirt cheap, you know. Honestly, an Iron Duke shouldn't really, an Iron Duke bare block shouldn't cost you more than 20 bucks in my opinion, but we're living in a different world the past 5 years. So $50 for a usable block, regardless of what the engine, not a bad deal. I think this was $270, and I've got a usable head, cam, crank, rods, pistons, and that's pretty much it. So, sort of expensive. I did buy molly rings, a set of new roller lifters, and some bearings, some main bearings, and some 160-degree thermostat, and some rod bearings right there. All standard stuff because nothing needs to be cut. And on an engine like this, spending money at a machine shop to have stuff cut and polished or bored is a waste of money, because let's be honest, it's not even a 100 horsepower engine. Why would you go and spend a couple $1,000 having everything cut and polished and honed and all of that? I also don't really trust any machine shops around here because I've had bad experiences with 3 of them. I've had bad experiences with 3 of the machine shops around here. There's a 4th machine shop that I had weld a head up that turned out fine, but I know somebody else who had them put an LS together and the bearing clearances were way too tight. I think the ring gap was way too tight too. So that ended up costing him basically an engine. There's a machine shop about an hour and a half, 2 hours from me that I absolutely trust, TKM, but they are a race shop. They are not a mom and pop machine shop. So if I showed up there with an Iron Duke, I'm sure they would do it for me, but being a race shop, in a well-known, well-respected race shop, they've got a long line of people getting work done. So from that perspective, it doesn't make sense to stick an Iron Duke in their queue. And again, you're going to be spending at least $1,000 if you do a bore, hone, cut, and polish of the crank. I'm rambling, so I'll end this here. That's probably all I'm going to do for this video. I'll just merge them all together and upload it, and then I'll start taking some videos, I guess, of me honing this block with the stone and then the brush. Yeah, that should be, I hope that's the right grit. 320. Yeah, that should work that should work fine for Molly. When you go steel, I think you don't want to go any finer than 220. So I've got everything there, and I'll go ahead and video that just to give everybody something to look at. And by everybody, I mean the 5 people that watch my videos. Thanks. Okay, don't forget to like the video or dislike it, either way. And comment. Tell me this is really boring. Cool. Later.